In this video, I will show you magic fertilizer for any plant. What I hold in my hand is one little bag of dry baker's yeast. Who would say that in this one little bag is so much power for our plants? What does yeast do to plants and soil when plants are watered with yeast? I will show you definitely in this video, so watch this video until the end. Yeast is a rich nitrogen fertilizer and it contains phosphorus. Yeast contains two key elements, which are necessary for the quality growth and development of our plants. Today, I will show you how to use baker's yeast in the garden. Yeast preparation is in principle very simple. Anyone who has kneaded bread once knows that yeast loves lukewarm water. The water in which you dissolve it must be neither cold nor hot, but exactly lukewarm. If you opt for dry baker's yeast, like I did, pour it into lukewarm water. Add a little sugar as the yeast speeds up its fermentation with sugar. It doesn't take much, just a little sugar is enough for the yeast to start. It's starting its fermentation process. After mixing, leave to stand for a while to make the yeast foam. After that, it is ready to be diluted with water. This is the first part of the making process of supplements for tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers and all other plants, because vitamin B is very important. After a while, when the yeast swells, stir it once more in order for better development of bacteria in the yeast. We all know how dough and cakes grow. It also affects our plants. Plants get stronger roots, they grow faster, and of course, as in everything, one should not exaggerate. This should be seen as an experiment and see what are the advantages and disadvantages of this process, because watering with yeast takes away calcium and potassium from the soil, which are also very important for plant development. That shortcoming needs to be compensated with something else, and that is exactly eggshell or eggshells, for example. I have my own method of adding eggshells. To make it easier for the plants to use calcium and potassium from the shell, I take it and crush it as much as I can. For example, with a rock, or using stones, because that is the easiest way to crush and speed up the plant's nutrition. The shell will serve our plants to regain the lost calcium and potassium after watering with yeast. Crush as much as you can to get more powder, like drugs in a pharmacy. In this way, the plant will easily use the elements from the shell. When this is prepared, we go to the garden to water our seedlings with yeast. Another source rich in calcium and potassium is hardwood ash, however. Wood sawdust is also a good choice. It is not as good as ash, but it also contains a certain amount of potassium in itself. Mixed with fine chopped eggshell will give you a sufficient amount of potassium and calcium to the plant that lost elements after watering with yeast. Here we are in the garden. The first thing we are going to do is bury eggshells and sawdust around the plant. And after that we will water with yeast, because it is easier to work with the soil when it is dry. Pour the mixture around the plant. Bury it so that it reaches the roots as soon as possible. This should give the plant enough of what it will lose. Then we take a solution of yeast that we previously diluted in a ratio 10 grams to 10 liters, or 0.02 pounds to 338 ounces. So pour it back into a smaller bowl, which we will water. So like this, we will water a plant with the yeast. It is basically the whole process. This type of supplementation is very important because, as yeast normally does, that the dough grows, so the plant will grow and have a stronger root and will bear much greater fruit. Of course, you have to be moderate. You need to observe your garden. Does your garden at all need something like yeast solution or not? That is why you should always experiment and monitor the results of plant growth. Don't forget when watering with yeast, if your soil needs it, to water every 10 to 15 days, 3 times during the season. Don't forget to add eggshells or ash or any other source, calcium and potassium, because yeast simply draws them from the soil. If the plants are left without them, they will not be able to develop as they should. So you have to be moderate, careful and experiment. And examine how your garden behaves before and after you add something. It is best to water the smaller plants with yeast because they are at the beginning, of course, like these here are, and to help them develop in early development, to strengthen the root of plants, stem and leaves. So be smart and careful, don't overdo it. Experiment, examine your soil and watch how it behaves and accordingly apply it. Do not apply method like this, because as good as they can be for your plants, they can be also as bad. Greetings from this garden of mine, and don't forget to write me your tips, what works for you, or if you know something else, or new magic fertilizer. Don't forget to write me in the comments also for other subscribers. And if you like my video, don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe my channel. See you!